right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen that are watching us live on Elkem Media. My name is Elijah Kelvin Murungi, your host on the platform. So today we have a topic of discussion, and I'm going to start by introducing to you the people that have been able to make it as speakers or the guest speakers. But before I proceed, we are live on Facebook and we are also live on YouTube. So just in case you want to see this whole session, you can be able to look for Elkem Media on Facebook and Elkem Media on YouTube, so you'll be able to see all this discussion that is going on. So without wasting any time, I just want to start by introducing my panelists. So on panel today we have a very big gentleman and a very big lady from Masindi district. First, there is Honorable Rogers Amanyire, who will be able to speak when his time comes, and he'll be able to also introduce himself. So we also have Dorothy Nyambubi, who is a journalist with King's Broadcasting Services, that is also in Masindi. And then we also have Honorable Turiyahikayo Innocent, a candidate. He was a candidate for 2021 general elections to 2026. So we also have another big gentleman right there, that is Mr. Delbert Tumusime, who is also part of the speakers for today, and he works for Recreation for Development and Peace, call it RDP Uganda. So just a minute, I'm going to be able to give our speakers just a minute of self-introduction, just for us to get to know who is on the platform, who does what, and what are they going to be delivering on this show. So just before I forget, our producers, thank you so much for being right there, and we hope we have a very good session. So right about now, let me ask Mr. Rogers Amanyire to introduce himself and also to tell us more about himself, just in a minute, Rogers. Thank you.
Thank you, the moderator and the viewers. Briefly, I'm an economist with a master's of planning, and I'm here to briefly take you through the impact of COVID-19 on the education sector in general.
All right, thank you very much. I hope we shall be able to have more of the economy versus the education sector and all that. So next is Dorothy Nyambubi. So Dorothy, yesterday we had it was Independence, and I don't know, how did you spend your time of the Independence? How was it? Who took you out? Maybe as we get into the whole discussion.
Yesterday, I think I was at work.
Really?
Yeah, yes. But however, you cannot fail to celebrate that day. That was when Uganda got its independence. By name Dorothy Nyambubi. I'm a journalist working with King's Radio Masindi, and also, besides being a journalist, I'm the executive director Women of Destiny, a group. It is an organization which operates under Action Aid. It is a RAG, that is a Reflection Action Group, and it is an organization which focuses on young girls and women. We'll always look out to the issues affecting young women and girls. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So next to Dorothy, there is another big gentleman, a big gentleman, yes. So this gentleman, one thing I've liked about him is one of the consistent young people that we have around this area, because if you really get to hear about his story, about what he likes to do, what he's interested in, it is nothing less but development and supporting young people. So that is Honorable Innocent Turiyahikayo. I think you can be able to speak to us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kelvin, and my fellow colleagues who are on the panel. And like you've talked about me, I'm called Innocent Turiyahikayo, a person who loves issue-based politics, and I always strongly say I'm a proud member of the Democratic Party everywhere I go. But besides that, I'm a community development practitioner. I like to see communities transform, and specifically I'm an advocate of welfare, more especially for young people. I want to see a new generation thinking positive, and now looking forward to building an East African federation that is beyond boundaries, but that's realistic, and it is now based on us as young people. We cannot continue speaking in parables of what happened in the past, but to build a better East Africa for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Innocent. Ikayo, I've heard about that movement, and maybe we can always share in details after here. So, ladies and gentlemen that are watching us, we also have another big gentleman. He's right there. That is Mr. Tumusime Delbert. He's a very, very good digital, when it comes to things to do with digital inspiration of the young people. He's one of the people that really likes things that go digital. So he's Delbert Tumusime. Let him also, introduce himself to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Host. I'll call you Mr. Host. My name is Tumusime Delbert. I remember you told us to be audible.
Yes.
My name is Tumusime Delbert, and I work with, I work for RDP Uganda, Revolution for Development and Uganda. I don't have much to introduce about myself, but one thing I know, I'm too into social media advocacy, and I hold a bachelor's degree in ethics and human rights, so I'm a human rights defender. And when I talk to human rights defending, it encompasses very many things: say corruption, social accountability, transparency. So that's the area where I do much for you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Delbert. So, just for issues of getting to know who is on the panel, who is on the platform, it is always key, or it is always a step in the right direction for us to get to know who is who and what do they do. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic or today's discussion is the future. We want to look at the future of Uganda's education sector during and in the post-COVID-19 era. So you get to know that Uganda actually had its first lockdown, or its first closure of most of the sectors, which included the education sector. That was last year in 2020 in March. So in March, very many things went down. The sectors realized that the taxis, the vehicles were not able to move. Have realized that the education sector is one of the things that are very, very affected, and we cannot close an eye on it, or we cannot keep a deaf ear watching all these things going on without saying a thing. So, in today's discussion, expect nothing less or nothing more than education, and how we can be able to improve it even during the COVID-19 times or after COVID-19 times. That is, if it is here to go. So I'm going to start right away with Honorable Dorothy Nyambubi. So Dorothy Nyambubi, she has told us that she deals with the girls. She deals with the young women and all that. That is with Women of Destiny. So Dorothy Nyambubi, just before we get into the whole discussion, let us start from there. How are the girls doing in this pandemic? How are they studying? Because we've heard that the government actually put programs. For example, children can be able to study on the radios, on the televisions. How is that really being? Do you think it is feasible? Do you think it is something that is working? So maybe we can start from there.
Okay, thank you so much, Elijah. Yes, government tried to put some programs on media. However, those programs, if you can carry out research or find out, in a rural setting, it has not worked well. Why? These are the people who do not even have a radio. So how do you expect a student from deep maybe in a remote area to study? So that is one thing. It has not to them.
All right, so Dorothy, we've heard that the government actually had a budget for the radio stations, and I mean for the radios themselves, so the distribution was supposed to happen, or it actually happened. So what do you mean that the radios are not in the villages?
Yeah, the government had a plan. It was a plan for the government to give out radios to these vulnerable people in rural settings. But the fact is, these radios were not provided. They did not provide any radio. Because me as the director or someone who is leading that organization dealing with young people, we moved in some villages to find out exactly whether these young people to keep them busy. The fact is, they do not have a radio. However, there is this institution, it is called Red Earth. It has, education center. It has put some lessons on radio, but still the challenge is having a radio at home. They cannot access a radio. So it becomes a challenge. It has tried, but it has not helped much. When we go back to the study materials, some did not get those study materials. To an extent, the chairpersons who received the study materials were telling these young children or even the parents to photocopy, to go and photocopy, make photocopies. But still, these are the parents who tell you, we do not have money to photocopy. So what would you do? Meaning that with these children in villages, for them, they were kicked out.
They were kicked out?
Yes, they were kicked out. They do not know how even things are moving. With things concerning education, they are less concerned about that.
Okay, so Dorothy, I'll be able to get back to you. So, Mr. Innocent Riaikayo, you've been in the race of politics just at the start of this year, or if not late last year. So these are some of the things that the government was trying to put in place. I don't know if you quote with Dorothy when it gets to the education sector. Like, for example, she is saying that the radios were not given out. Children do not have any ways of studying. What do you make of what she says?
I want to thank first Dorothy for submission specifically on what government's intervention during COVID. But we have to first understand where have we been before we reached where we are. You have to understand that our education policy is informed by a three-tier system where you have the primary, you have the secondary, and the post-secondary level. Of recent, they had brought in kindergarten. Therefore, it means that all the people we are advocating for fall into this tier system. But the question would be, have all these people been targeted in the interventions by government? And also comes in, what is the role of government in terms of having quality education for our children? Government has totally pulled back, and we have to understand that the liberalization policies that were introduced in this country put a lot of relaxation on where government was having a big hand. And education is one of the sectors that was affected. And we see private enterprises, we see private stakeholders taking a lead. And this is where we have lost it. Like in this COVID, you have seen the private sector, the private schools, those who are able and capable have managed to continue extending services to their clients, while government has not been able to effectively ensure that the children, more especially those who are in UPE, who are in secondary and the other systems of education, have not. And the other thing is that we are trying to adapt into the electronic learning. And this comes
online learning.
Yes. And this comes with distribution of materials, reading content online, having interface with different softwares, and that communication. One, we have to understand that our infrastructure setup in schools is not enough. First, we have failed on having physical infrastructures. Now, if the physical infrastructure are not enough, therefore, even the software system or the software infrastructure cannot be implemented in these schools. Then the other things that the money that has been allocated in the two consecutive budgets in education, we have not seen their reflection, and we have seen at most government focusing on only education, only on radio programs, but what is the accessibility of radios in villages?
How many people are able to
Now,
access?
how do you teach specific subjects? For example, mathematics on a radio. How do you teach some subjects that need illustration? Then the other thing is that do these teachers have the best communication skills to use on radio? That's the second day. Then the other thing is that those who have been learning on TV. How many people have TVs at home? Now, I was talking about the electronic part, the use of internet and whatever. Government slapped 12% increase on tax. Now, if it really has interest and will to ensure that education flourishes onto these different platforms, then that is a bad disservice. Then there are things that our education system has been suffering a number of things in terms of the quality of products that come out of these institutions. Now, at this moment, we have had COVID interrupting. Now, I don't know if we have gone back into more of bad quality or we have added on to the quality we have been having. The other skills, the skills development, the soft skills of these kids has not been there. We know there has been a lot of unemployment in this country because we understand by 1986, our universities used to produce around 5,000 graduates, 5,000 graduates by one institution. That was Makerere. Now you have over 40,000 coming out of institutions. Now, you have now a population that's been stagnant for close to 3 years in specific classes. One, they don't have any additional skills apart from the knowledge they have been learning in class. That means they are still helpless. Now, these are the same people you want the next day to come and go to school, and how will they perform? Therefore, our ministry and government has not helped us because we can't take our responsibility from government. Because it is responsible for quality control, it is responsible for licensing, it is responsible for certification of different institutions. So we can't take our responsibility. It has a sole role towards education development. Therefore, I see that COVID has greatly affected our education system, and a lot of challenges are cropping up where we have seen now, instead of pupils or learners having a value addition onto themselves, now they are having devaluation on themselves. We have seen over 14,000 young girls pregnant in this session, in this COVID. We have seen deterioration in the quality of students. There's stagnation in learning, more especially those who are going to government and these other private schools that are not performing, that are not having the capacity to withstand the situation.
Okay, so Innocent, we shall pick from there. Thank you very much. So Mr. Rogers Amanyira, we've heard from Mr. Innocent. He was actually talking about how the education sector has led to some of the things, deterioration to some of the sectors actually. So what do you make of the economy, more especially when it gets to some industries like pig fair? Because we have seen that those are some of the industries, or there are some of the businesses that we are giving people books. They are producing books, they are producing pens. So we are looking at this time round, we do not have other books in circulation because we do not have children at school. We do not have the pens in circulation because we don't have children at school. We also do not have posho in circulation because schools are no longer taking in the posho. And then the bins as well, and other things that are necessary for education to go on. So what do you make of that kind of economy? Is Uganda having a higiyaga, or is it, what is really going on? Innocent.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Rogers.
Thank
Yes.
you, the moderator. First of all, education as it is, it's one of, if not the key sector in economy worldwide. It's a global thing because whatever has lost it. These others here and there you can pick up from there. So back to the question, in terms of the economy as it is, the impact of COVID on the economy has been a mess. But however, on the other hand, like the Bible says, God gives those who are having something.
Yeah.
So if you had invested wisely and you were ready for it, those who had
Yes, actually, Rogers,
those
from
who
there,
had
how do you measure who invested wisely and who didn't? Because we used to hear these things in China.
okay, here
That by the time the pandemic came, so how do you expect a poor Ugandan, like someone deep in the village, to have known about this, to have invested wisely? Yes.
here is the catch. You know, global, let's say per state, every country is run by government. Now, if you compare, this time, if you compare Rwanda, I'll take a very nearby example. If you compare Rwanda and Uganda, Rwanda in fact is very happy to have at least had a glance of COVID-19 because to it, as a government, it had gone much of the digital side. And the COVID has just accelerated its digital growth. That's why you are seeing we were talking about our budget stagnant with 41 trillion shillings and all that. Rwanda rose by 8%.
So what is
So
really
that
happening in Rwanda
because
that is not happening in Uganda?
To them, they had embraced digital. Now, COVID-19 came with restrictions of socialization, and that upped the digital world. Those who are doing the digital world are benefiting. For example, we have an app I was explaining to a colleague, researching more about it, because I got interest just 2 weeks back when my daughter, when they went back to school. By the way, to those parents who are eager of kids learning, our kids are in school. In one way or another, digitally, they're in school.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe the government has given them.
For us, we left the government behind because the government will meet us middle way. Our kids are in school, so I got interested in. It's called ULearn.
ULearn.
Yeah, that app. The app was developed by a neighbor. It is a Rwandese developer. If you trace it on its platform, it was developed. Now, here is my interest in the same app. I was trying to tell a colleague. My daughter was in P3 when COVID hit.
P3.
Yeah.
That is last
And
year.
I'm hoping by next year when the schools open, if they do, she will be in P5. Why? Because of the learning that has been going on. First it was
So let me ask.
Now
is that kind of
official.
learning for the Ugandans here, or it is for a chosen few?
She's
Because-
a Ugandan. So, to be specific, she's a Ugandan. So it's for the Ugandans, but those who invested wisely. That's what I'm trying to put across. Because if you compare now what she learns with a kid from Kibona who is seated home, you can't measure, and yet they're in the same education system. I keep telling parents that what matters for a kid's learning is the P7 certificate, S4 certificate, S6 certificate. What goes on between there
It doesn't matter.
is none of our government's concern, because at the end of the day, you are a father or a mother to that particular kid. It is the generation you are grooming. So when you check on that app, I was very, very, very happy to see. There is a learning session. Those with screen on the TV, if you have a flat smart screen, you just connect it via Bluetooth, and then it projects on the screen. The kid learns. They are standby teachers as it is learning. Maybe the kid is learning SST. There is a team standby. The kid just, if you need to ask a question, you just go to a live session. It gives you like 30 seconds. You get a live teacher who will do what exactly was being put. Then you catch up.
Be a good one, yes.
Yeah, it is on a session, but of course it's a monthly pay is around 75,000. Now, if a parent can afford that, you get yourself a smartphone, maybe a tab, you get yourself a screen, whether touch or not, if you can connect it well, then your kid is already learning, is a step ahead. Now, that is the first impact of COVID-19, because if you compare now a kid who is 9 years, for example, a kid who was 9 years in P3 at this time is going to be 10 years in P3. Those who are learning, the kid will move on. By the time they go back to school, like I've told you, my daughter will be in P5, and the other hours here in Kibona, where we are waiting for government to open up, they will be left behind. That is a generation gap. And that impact comes back to bite us, and that's why we are complaining here that so many kids have gotten pregnant and here and so on. Me, I don't believe in that, because I believe there is the age you play with, there is the age you don't. For example, if the kid is 17 years, let's be realistic, 17 years and she's in P6, because there was that time lag. Most of us even, we started having sex at 15, 16. Now, that is the other generation of ours that was very much restricted. True. Nowadays,
things are online.
A parent will encourage the kid to plait hair at 16. And there comes, the kid starts, okay, I can put on lipstick, I can do this, I can do, because the age is running. So there's a generation that you don't play with a particular age gap. Now this COVID-19 has put a very big challenge to all of us. We tend to blame the kids for getting pregnant and forget to blame the parents. The other day, just a few days back, we are celebrating Teachers' Day. And I had a certain teacher from Kenya. When she was the former DEO and the former Minister of Education, when she stood up to speak, she was very frank. She really blasted us, the parents. She told us, for all the other time we were having your kids, they never got pregnant. But we've given them to you for a year also, they are pregnant. So it shows the impact of these teachers to what they were doing to the learners. And to us who are not ready, the parents who are not ready to become a substitute of teachers, you realize that most of the kids that have, if you trace a kid or pregnancy, early pregnancy, and all that, you trace that kid and realize the parent somewhere lacked that ability to transform from being a mere parent to being a teacher, like a substitute teacher. So COVID-19 in the economy, it has really hit us that bad. For school owners, some have turned their schools into lodges and all that. Because it's an economy, you have to keep running here and there. You try this phase, you go the other way. For the business people, like Pig Fair you are mentioning, that depended on much of the material, it is also a lesson to them. Because if you try Qatar, Dubai, paperwork is getting off. There are so many offices that are now off the paperwork.
Sure.
Yeah. To me, as an economist, I would say COVID-19 has really opened the eyes of those economies that are lacking in the backward way of doing business. Now in Dubai, it is very hard to find some offices, someone buying a rim in the office. For what?
Okay,
just digital and share.
Mr. Rogers, so
it's the way to go.
Yes.
So COVID-19, to me as an economist, it has hastened the digitalization of Africa. To the countries that are willing to embrace, but to those of us who are still stuck behind and trying to look at solutions in terms of changing the syllabus, the teaching language into the local language, they're all then going backwards instead of catching up. I think we are here to blame because we need to shout out more so that we try to go global, digital in terms of.
Mr. Rogers, as you proceed, so you've actually tried to bring in the whole idea of Dubai and then Uganda. But we are looking at Uganda as a developing country. Yes, as much as we would want to do away with the paperwork, the realm of paper and all that. But these are industries. If you look at Pick Fair, the reason as to why I'm using it as a case study, it's because it is really contributing, or it was contributing a lot on Uganda's economy. So without Pick Fair, without other companies, because there are also other organizations, other companies, other businesses that are in the same business, even those ones that I've not mentioned. What do they do? Do they have to sit back and lament that, hey, you know what, now we have to get into the digital life?
Thank you.
Even if we got into the digital spaces, what happens when children have to write? A child in, let us say, a child in, what is this place? You are using a case study of Kibon, a case study of Kijonjubwa. Where do they have to write? Do they have to write in the phones? Do they have to buy computers? Elaborate more about that.
Yeah, basically it's about preparedness. In 2015, Rwanda introduced 1 laptop per pupil.
Sure.
A laptop per pupil. And that laptop came with a seat, this normal timber seat in class. You get a set of a laptop, your own seat, every school.
Every school.
From P3 then, that is 2015. And we did. And Uganda, by the way, we even invested in our parliament, the education sector. Then when we wanted to redo our curriculum, they went and did a case study in Rwanda. If you can go online, you can type that case study, you get it. Even it's on the answer by our parliament when they introduced that laptop per pupil program. Now, imagine then, nobody anticipated there would be COVID. But now Rwanda is reaping from what it has. And by then, the laptops they were doing, they are these locally made laptops just for kids. They're in different colors, not our type of laptops that are sophisticated. Those type of, but the kids are
user friendly.
If you look at the Minister for Information and Technology, he's 20 years old. Rwanda's Minister of Information. He has a master's and a PhD. He started from Rwanda, and he was discovered by the same program. Then he went and learned programming, and he's back in Rwanda trying to help his peer now. Because Rwanda, I'm sorry, I'll keep using the example because it's the most nearby, and these guys came from us. In most cases, the government just evolved from the NRM.
Maybe someone will have an argument that Rwanda is small and so it is manageable.
So it's not about that. It's about the piloting. If we had such a program, say you've piloted Mukono, Entebbe, and all that, it would be in place.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rogers. I'll get back to you.
So it's about preparedness to go digital. We can't now escape this.
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
The positive impact of COVID.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Rogers. I'll be getting back to you. So we have a gentleman that has not yet spoken. He has introduced himself, but he hasn't shared with us about what his findings have been in the country. So now, Mr. Delbert Tumusime, we have seen that you are a person who is too much into the digital spaces. As a young person, as someone who has done more of digital advocacy, what do you make of Mr. Rogers' argument when he says that Uganda should actually embrace online learning like the ULearn, software that is available, that children can be able to get promoted? Is it really something that is viable? Is it feasible in a country like Uganda? Does it work for someone who is in Kapchorwa, for someone who is in Jumani, deep there? Do you think Uganda is at that level whereby it can have that kind of digital learning and all that? What do you make of that?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, when I read through the topic, I read it very many times because it was quite rich in words, and it is, to me, it is unmeasurable because it talks about the aftermath of COVID-19, and we don't know when COVID-19 is sweeping out. but we are busy looking out for the future of education in Uganda. That showed me how we are trying to be prepared, just like our leader said, that COVID-19 has come here to teach us a lesson. Very many teachers really have not been like familiarizing themselves with social media. I'll talk of one of the lecturers I know, and most of the universities, they are trying to teach students online via Zoom. But the teacher himself is not well conversant with the Zoom app. He doesn't know whether I have 30 participants or I have 10. For him, is speaking so long as the laptop is on. So I don't know how the point drives home. I don't know whether he measures whether you've understood or not. I don't know how he calculates the possibility of students understanding what he has taught. But for him, so long as he's online, he doesn't even know the participants have logged in, he has mute or unmute, he's speaking. Not until you tell him, hey, you've not been speaking, you've unmute, you know.
So he has to repeat what he has been
He has to, and he doesn't want, because he has already spent time. So to me, I think we have to entrust and interest ourselves in social media, because social media is the way to go. It has been the strongest muscle in during the COVID-19 pandemic at the start. There was no social gatherings. Meetings had to be called off. You only had to meet on phone, you know, and it is only people who had knowledge about that particular app. They are the only people who used to conduct those meetings. So there is a time where teachers, they were called in a meeting in a Zoom app, but because the other teacher has Kamapesa, he can't access Zoom, he will not go in that meeting, and he's going to miss out all the information that is going to be going on in that very meeting. And it is none of his business, because it is not he is not the one who brought COVID-19. And what did they dissolve? They went to border reading. Right now, teachers, primary teachers, they have a lot of money out of border reading. And I don't see how they return to school after COVID-19, but they go and wait for the salary. You know, a monthly salary. And yet they have been earning daily on the border.
It's actually stupid.
It is actually stupid to go and stand up and wait for the salary, yet you've been earning daily. They earn 30 per day, calculate 30 for
times a month.
Times a month. How much is that? Is it equivalent to the money or salary you've been earning? You know?
This is 900,000.
And those teachers are not going to go back. There's now that space, you know. And we don't have prepared teachers again, because we haven't graduated. The ones who graduated, they have been online graduates. We don't know the practicability of what they have started. So there is that gap. Those teachers
so are you trying to say that online graduation is a step in a wrong direction?
Online graduation, it also has hiccups, and the hiccups are too big compared to the physical graduation. Because teaching physically, you get to know who can do what and who can't do what. But online, you assume everybody is learning, and in a real sense, nobody. You may find you and the admin or the class monitor who mobilize people to get online. You are the ones following the lessons. Others are busy, switched on the phone, but they are doing other things. So you can't tell me
the Zoom meeting on and on WhatsApp.
You can't tell me that the product you will get out of the online meeting, it is really fit in purpose. It has hiccups, and the hiccups are unmeasurable, because you don't know who did which assignment, who was online, who couldn't access, because I can as well get a phone of the neighbor. I log in.
At that very point, we have seen universities like Uganda Christian University. Actually, this very year they were the ones that have students, that had students at Law Development Center, that is LDC. So we are seeing that for them, they have had a system where they actually measure who is learning, who submitted which coursework, who did the exams and who did not. And we are seeing lately, the government, I'm hearing mob students, they're actually doing exams. Makerere students are doing exams. I just want you to make sure that it is not viable. Maybe we just have to go slowly and embrace, as you're actually saying that we are supposed to embrace the digital world or the digital spaces. So don't you think at some point this is something we are supposed to learn how to use?
Yeah.
Just to interdict briefly, the universities you're trying to compare, MUGS and East
Mackenzie.
African University,
Uganda
Cavendish, no,
There is Mutasa who you don't.
Cavendish, MUGS, Uganda Christian University and East African University, those had already a digital platform, though at a small
extent.
Now, for Makerere, that had the failed digital platform. Kiambogo, you've seen the results of now Kiambogo. They were having an exam now to postpone.
Hey, it is postponed.
It is. It was.
MUGS has postponed also.
MUGS, the government university, also it's on the verge of. I think we are waiting for the announcement. Maybe tomorrow also.
The system broke.
The system was.
It was part of them.
It was part of
Yes,
them.
but then if you see other universities, just like the way Delbert has said, we have a friend was at Chambo was still yes, but then they would even not know whether even she was
Power
doing
only lab
yes,
or not.
yeah. At times even she would say, you know, Dora, me I just did someone's work and I just
Copy
and
said
paste.
yes. Now you just imagine the whole process, like the way everything is. Sincerely speaking, just the way he said, there's a lot of hiccups.
Okay.
You don't need
University can as well know who provided the coursework, who now these are the presumably be the graduates. That is okay, because everybody I can as well also copy and I submit and I graduate. But let us come back down. Have you submitted something that you know, that you sat down and comprehended, and you brainstormed from your brain to put it on paper? Or you got something from a friend or from Google, you copied and pasted and submitted. That is the online thing I'm talking about. Lecturers are on their way, they are doing their stuff. So long as they send work on WhatsApp group, they have a WhatsApp group where they teach from. And you do, then submit. They can't measure whether you copied or you didn't. So long as you do what? You submit.
But,
Are you getting me? And there is a likelihood of getting correct participants only, students who you have no failure there.
Hey, online.
Online, there are few people who fail. Online. And the
Those who
people,
fail, what happens?
the people who fail, those are people who got up in business. They just, we have a help me, but I'm busy chasing other stuff. And then those who used to fail, they are busy concentrating on copy and paste because they want to challenge a record before. Are you getting me? So the teacher, the lecturer, who is wise enough, must sit down and look at the past days. Whether Tumsime Delbert used to get 30, how come in this paper has gotten 70 while home?
How?
Are you getting me? So it has showed us that teachers have also given up. They don't have that time so long as they get their salary.
But not spare much.
But I think Amanyira has used up his 15 minutes. I think he has
80% of what we learn, 80% of what we learn in our curriculum as we stand now is useless in the normal life.
I would say the curriculum right now, it is not yet to be.
So if you copy paste who has the first choice and you put
If I
it
could
there,
interject.
Let me tell you, there are some
just about
subjects.
passing.
There are some subjects which don't require copy and paste. You have to use your rationality, like SST. You have to know who's the president, who's the present president. But so long our answer has been the same since I started. But there are some eventualities where you find the answers will change. But pupils have knowledge of copying and asking from friends, what did you put here? Because there is no monitor, there is no they are called invigilators to monitor. Ambalo, you are copying. No, I'm home seated, I'm doing my work, I will submit it on my own time. And in the evening, you will be in Kijura.
Alright, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Delbert.
Yeah, let me complete.
Alright.
But I think we have to, COVID-19, we don't know when it is ending. And we are not sure whether it will sweep out and some pandemic comes in. And we have to be prepared that if at all this happens, what is my plan B? Teachers have, it squeezed them to the point of rubbing their shoulders on the wall. They said, no, let me do whatever it comes. I have a friend, a teacher, I used to teach at this school here, the Muslim school. It pays good money, it pays some good money. But the man reached a point of, you know, it is a Muslim school. It is they didn't allow drunkards, teachers who are drunkards. But this man got to a point of being stressed. He started drinking booze of 500. You know, he gave up his life. He put down the instruments. Now he's dealing with his own life in some other business.
One who has to be a night watchman.
By the way, I think he's the one, because he gave up on life. So it has taught us what to use, how to use social media, and it has showed us that if you're not connected on social media, you're going to be left out.
All right. Thank you very much, Delbert. I'll be able to get back to you. Mr. Innocent Triaikayo, as you interject, because earlier on you want